All the galaxy is a stage.
World, not galaxy. All the world's a stage.
Oh, you know that one.
Hey, it's Janelle Waz, and welcome back to another Star Trek video. So, is Q a good guy or a bad guy?
If you can't take a little bloody nose, maybe you ought to go back home and crawl under your bed.
Oh, there's no denying that Q is the source of chaos every time he appears. J.J. Abrams-style attacks, a Robin Hood fantasy.
I protest. I am not a merry man.
Even puppies. Not to mention that time he wanted Janeway to have his baby and orchestrated an entire Civil War reenactment for her. Also, Sisko was having none of his shenanigans either. Maybe that's why he hung around Picard so much. But despite his mischievous nature, the audience couldn't help but fall in love with Q's antics throughout the Star Trek shows, and even video games. But was Q a villain, or simply just a curious omnipotent being with only a little more self-control than, oh, let's say Trelane from the original series?
When we do battle, it is only because we have no choice.
Haha, but that's the official story, eh?
Now, since Q spent most of his time in Picard's hair, I'm mainly going to focus on his appearances in TNG, since he was only on DS9 for, what, a day? And he only troubled Janeway 3 times throughout Voyager's entire run in the Delta Quadrant. Mind your P's and Q's as we delve into the very nature of Q.
We must at least appear to be pals. Civil.
But before I go further, thanks for checking out my video. Make sure you like and subscribe for more of my Star Trek, video game, and other miscellaneous content. Keep those hailing frequencies open on the other social media sites, and a big thank you to my channel members for supporting the channel. If you'd like to buy me a cup of tea and support my work, consider joining up on my channel. Be great to have you aboard. Now, as much as Star Trek was a franchise that delved more into nuance rather than straight up good versus evil, it still had its fair share of villains. There was Khan's superiority complex and desire to conquer, Ducat's general antagonism morphing into excusing his actions during the Cardassian occupation before finally delving into insanity, the Borg's policy of assimilate or die, and even Lore's instability. These are villains that had very little redeemable qualities and a certain amount of malice to them. They're going to complete their goals no matter the suffering it might cause, and damn those who might try to stop them. But then, there's Q. Sure, he's a source of chaos and any number of antics inflicted on the captains he encounters, mostly Picard. But he's not on the same level as Khan or Ducat. There's nothing really stopping him from ruling the galaxy with the snap of his fingers or directly inflicting harm. Well, okay, there's a continuum, but they pretty much just let him run around and do his thing. Except when they don't.
These aren't my colors.
The point is that give Khan or Ducat the powers of Q and the galaxy is in deep trouble. But Q? He might do some reckless things, but generally speaking, he lets the universe do its thing and pops in from time to time.
You will now answer to the charge of being a grievously savage race.
Yeah, encounter at Farpoint. There are times throughout the show, especially early in TNG, where Q has a mean streak that borders on being villainous. The first time he appears, he's very much set up as a recurring villain. Because freezing Tasha Yar, putting humanity on trial, and making Picard answer for the crimes of humanity because something humans warred with each other in the past, which proves they haven't changed and aren't worthy of exploring the galaxy, it doesn't really scream good guy material. But also, shouldn't he probably sue the Vulcans as well? And Picard's not about that shit either, because humanity's come a long way since Archer threatened to knock T'Pol on her ass, so they're boldly going anyways.
They don't want us there, so we're going.
So why the elaborate trial, Q? Why put Picard through your test, risking Farpoint Station and 2 space jellyfish? Entertainment.
Why do you use other life forms for your recreation?
Look, the Q Continuum doesn't have TV, let alone Star Trek.
Star Trek, the next generation.
So how about a little kidnapping and forcing the Enterprise crew to play a deadly game against vicious animal things? No, seriously, that's what the episode calls them.
Vicious animal things.
Also, he throws Tasha in a penalty box where she could disappear from existence forever while he enjoys a nice glass of lemonade with Riker.
Lemonade? Please.
Really not helping my case that you're not a villain, are you, Q? But hey, don't worry, he gave Riker the power to save them all. Which immediately goes to his head when he turns Geordi into the host of Reading Rainbow, Wesley into a man, and Worf... well, we'll just leave that alone. But Riker did start inviting him to the holodeck after this episode. Now, we are introduced to a new Q trait this time around, his curiosity. Picard accepting his challenge and even passing his test and encounter at Farpoint caught his attention, and he wanted to learn more about him and his crew, which is why he put them all into a game. After all, you can tell a lot about people based on how they play games, and it's actually an interesting concept to explore. I just wish the episode did a better job of exploring it.
Did someone say game?
And Q's curiosity would evolve into teaching the Enterprise crew various lessons about the galaxy. Which is why he introduced them all to the Borg.
It was I, you know, who introduced Picard to the Borg, and it's because of me that 10 years ago the Borg came to Wolf 359 and...
You bet!
Damn it! We just can't leave her here!
Yep, Q is basically responsible for Picard becoming assimilated, Sisko losing his wife, setting the entire Federation on edge, nearly preventing humans and Vulcans from ever meeting each other, and 7 of 9. And it was all to teach Picard a lesson about humility in space.
It's wondrous, with treasures to satiate desires both subtle and gross, but it's not for the timid.
And also because Picard wouldn't let him join his crew.
My purpose is to join you.
To join us as what?
As a member of the crew, willing and able, ready to serve.
Look, Jean-Luc, the next time Q wants to join your crew, you say yes!
But I think the lesson could have been learned without the loss of 18 members of my crew.
But okay, introducing the Borg to the Federation is pretty bad, not gonna lie, but as Picard acknowledged, Q gave them a heads up of what's out there. Space is full of pretty crazy, dangerous shit, and at least they know what to expect when the Borg eventually arrive in Federation space. Whether or not that's what he intended, Q's to say, but it did buy the Federation time, and they weren't caught by surprise.
Perhaps what we most needed was a kick in our complacency to prepare us for what lies ahead.
But even the Continuum got tired of Q's shit, and they took away his powers. And pants.
They say I've spread chaos through the universe.
I mean, where are they wrong? Finally, Q's getting a lesson in humility, prone to the onslaught of hunger, sleep, backaches, and forks in the hand.
Seems human enough to me.
This is probably his most human episode, in more ways than one, because he begins to feel shame for the first time. The Enterprise is being attacked by the J.J. Abrams aliens. Okay, the Calamarain. And when Data risks his own life to save him, Q has some self-reflection and realizes he probably wouldn't have done the same, ultimately coming to the conclusion that he doesn't have what it takes to be a mere human being that he's looked down upon for so long.
Condemned to be a member of this lowest of species, a normal, imperfect, lumpen human being.
Stealing a runabout to end it all, Q heads for the Calamarain.
Do I detect, selfless act?
And the Continuum lets him back in.
Mon capitaine! He's back!
In fact, Q is so grateful and generous to the Enterprise crew that from now on, his antics have more of a humorous streak.
I'll alert the crew.
Oh, Picard's having trouble with the ladies? Namely Vosh? Well, it's making you weak, Jean-Luc. Here's a Robin Hood-themed lesson to teach you all about how love brings out the worst in you. I mean, it's the wrong conclusion, but in his own Q way, he is trying to pay off his debt to Picard for saving his life.
Without your assistance in our last encounter, I would never have survived.
And then there's Amanda Rogers. Okay, so Q was willing to give Riker powers and have him join up with the Continuum, and nobody really squawked about it too much. Well, Picard did. But Amanda, the daughter of two Qs whose powers started to manifest, has to be trained to join the Continuum or die. Yeah, kinda seems like Q slipped back into his old habits here, but to be fair, because I always try to be fair, this order came down from the Continuum, and Q was trying to train Amanda so she could live. He does have somewhat of a conscience. But then again, having Amanda killed wasn't fully off the table for him until Picard told him off.
I would put human morality against the Qs any day.
I guess Picard is kind of a conscience figure for Q when you think about it. And can we talk about how he interacts with Amanda in the creepiest way possible? Personal space, Q! It's a thing!
She has potential, this one.
Meanwhile, in a white room outside of time,
Welcome to the afterlife, Jean-Luc. You're dead.
Picard's artificial heart giving him problems? Well, Q gives him a second chance to avoid getting stabbed. And makes him languish his life away as a lieutenant junior grade. Not even a full lieutenant. Though he still outranks Harry Kim, so he's got that going for him. But this experience makes Picard appreciate the untidy aspects of his life, that they're what made him who he is, even if it means he dies in sickbay.
I would rather die as the man I was than live the life I just saw. I owe him a debt of gratitude.
In what sense? It sounds like he put you through hell.
Well, this is Q we're talking about here. Remember that nasty trial at the beginning of the show? Well, it's still going on 7 years later.
The trial never ended, Captain.
Damn it, Q! Picard's flipping back and forth between 3 different timelines just for Q to teach him a lesson.
The trial never ends. We wanted to see if you had the ability to expand your mind and your horizons.
Not gonna lie, it is a pretty cool ending, and All Good Things is my favorite Star Trek finale, but yeah, it's a little messed up that Q almost destroyed time just so Picard could learn something.
See you out there.
And by out there, he means DS9 and the Delta Quadrant. Between treating Picard's girlfriend that he stole from him like crap, and, well, he did mellow out for Voyager, but still, little hard to explain away the Q and the Gray. His appearances outside of TNG weren't nearly as fun or deep. Though Cisco knocking Q out was pretty top tier. There's also this face that he makes at Dr. Bashir. So with all that in mind, what is my conclusion? Is Q good or bad? Q is Q. He's kinda in the same category as characters like Garrick. Not entirely bad, but not entirely good either. He can be extremely dangerous with very little thought to the safety of those he takes an interest in, but at the same time, he's shown that he's capable of generosity, or his brand of generosity, and even extending a helping hand. Even amid all the chaos, he still gives Picard a chance to figure it out, and even gives him hints along the way. And it's because of his fascination with humanity.
Q's interest in you has always been very similar to that of a master and his beloved pet.
You know, I think that pretty much describes it. And yes, a lot of comparisons have been made between Trelane in the original series and Q. Both happen upon crews of the Enterprise and use them for their entertainment. But where Trelane saw Kirk's crew as mere playthings for his amusement, which does make sense considering it turns out he was a kid all along, Q, in time, developed a genuine interest in Picard's crew, almost like he wanted them to learn and improve themselves. Albeit, not in the easiest ways. Was Q intended to be a villain from the start? Well, there's certainly evidence to suggest that, but like a lot of Season 1 of TNG, Q's more villainous streak was retconned into a more curious nature with a dose of chaos, showing Picard a whole new world of exploration and terrifying him, but it's almost always entertaining for us.
The Continuum didn't think you had it in you, Jean-Luc. But I knew you did.
Well, that's all I have for today about Q, but what about you? Do you think Q is more good or bad? Do his antics delight you or set you on edge? Do you agree with my assessment, or am I way off base? And what are some of your favorite gray characters of Star Trek? Please, leave comments below and discuss. As always, thanks for tuning in to another Star Trek video. If you like what you see, why not give my video a like and subscribe to my channel? Tell your friends! Until next time,
I will not play the fool for Q's amusement!